Morning, everyone. We're just letting people in, so I'll just give it a few seconds as people bob in before we get started. And so now I'll get started. So welcome, everyone, and welcome to this month's Profit Expert Live web event. If you haven't come across me or attended one of these before, my name's Jon Davies from Jon Davies Accountants, and we run these events every month. And today we're looking at something that basically is a very important one for many business owners. It sounds like productivity, but in many ways it's much more important than that, because actually reclaiming your time actually affects your profit, your team, your stress levels, and ultimately the ability of the business to kind of to grow without swallowing your life. So try and get the slide to move on. Who is this for? As always, these events are very much aimed at owner-managed businesses. Many of the people we work with are 6 and 7 figure turnover businesses looking to double their profits, and therefore it's really relevant to ambitious business owners looking to grow to 7 figures in the next 5 years, but ultimately for any business owner who wants more profit, lower tax, and less stress. And why this topic? Well, about 6 weeks ago, we held an event in Liverpool City Centre. We had about 50 people there, and nearly all were business owners. And we asked a simple question, difficult answer. The question was, what keeps you awake at night? And there were 2 very clear winners or losers, depending on your point of view, but certainly 2 things came up far more than any. First one was cash flow, and that's why last month's topic, what we covered at last month's web event, was about making the cash flow. The other one was about time, not having enough time to get things done in the business, not having enough time to get things done at home, and spending time with family, friends, and doing the stuff that people enjoy. And someone could have summed it up and said, actually, it's about having enough time and therefore feeling relaxed. They can take time off without thinking the building will burn down without them. So I want to kind of, the real problem here, and hopefully it's a reassuring thought, is that, if it does feel like you haven't got enough time, it's not because you're lazy. I feel that the same. None of us are lazy. Most business owners I know are the complete opposite of lazy. They're working very hard. They care deeply. Usually the first one's in of a morning, the last one's home, and then of course thinking about it later as well. So the issue is not about effort. It's about having too much of the business living in your head, and that then leads to overwhelm as well. So it's not just there's not enough time, it's then the time you have got, you're overwhelmed with all the tasks that you're not getting enough done. And I think one of the things we find is ultimately your diary tells a lot of truth about how you're using your time. Kind of not your business plan, not your website, not your LinkedIn profile, but your diary. Because if your diary is full of low value work, interruptions, decisions, meetings that other people could be doing or kind of making, it tells us something important about the business and your time. And it tells us that the business owner has perhaps become the bottleneck, and he's not getting enough from their time because they're doing stuff that other people should be doing. And sometimes for all as well, if you look at your diary or what you've done, there's too much messing around on things that perhaps shouldn't be messing around during the day, but we all need a little bit of downtime. And I kind of use this. I'm an accountant. I'm a mathematician by trade. Important one. If you have clarity on your goals and where you want to get to, and you focus on that when making decisions about what you do, you will have more time to get there. Because if you just think about that, a lot of the reason we don't have enough time is because we're doing things that either somebody else could do or not actually important to get us to our goals. I was somewhere in the entrepreneur circle, which I kind of mentioned a few times through this, and they're running a course downstairs. I had a meeting upstairs, and I bobbed down. A lot of people were holding. It's entirely coincidental. I'll kind of drop it in. a card, a kind of picture with saying, does it make your boat go faster? And I know that's from a guy who's spoken a few times at the Entrepreneur Circle, who was an Olympic rower for GB, won a gold medal. And basically, in the training for the Olympics for a year or more, their motto was, does it make the goat? The goat does it make the boat go faster? Would be a better one. And also, in every decision about how to spend their time, does it make the boat go faster? And if it doesn't, don't do it. If it does, do it. And that's about that clarity and focus will create more time. Okay. And tied into the Entrepreneur Circle, I mean, the Entrepreneur Circle, for those who haven't come across them, is a membership organization of small businesses and helps them grow and market. A lot of marketing, but about running the business. I ran the Entrepreneur Circle in Liverpool back in 2013. I've run the local meeting in Liverpool the last 5 years, and I've been a member for that whole period as well. And I was down there yesterday on mastermind sessions with kind of Nigel, the owner. And Nigel, who built the Entrepreneur Circle, has built a number of more than £10 million businesses, puts his whole success down to this 90-minute question. And when he set up his first business, he had a mentor who said, pop in for a cup of tea. And he'd been in business a few months. And his mentor popped in and said, Nigel, so what's the single most important thing to make your business a success? And he gave it a little bit of thought, and he came with the answer, it's getting and keeping customers. And his mentor said, oh, good answer, to which he was quite pleased. And I said, so what did you do today to get and keep customers? And as with many of us in businesses, at that point, it's like, well, actually, I've done the meetings, the client calls, the emails, it's all the important stuff in doing the do. We haven't spent any time doing something that will either bring customers in or keep them. And, the guy said, well, you've just told me that's the most important thing in your business. Why haven't you done any today? And what they come up with was the 90-minute thing and since then, Nigel, for the last 20 years, religiously has set aside 90 minutes every day to effectively work on the business, making the business better rather than in the business. And that 90-minute thing is about what is the most important thing if you want your business to grow. And I know some people might be 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever, but ensuring that some point every day, or at very least every week, you are setting aside time to do that, because that will actually help you with time overall. And why 90 minutes matters, like I say, it's that thing of actually we all get pulled into doing the do. And the idea of setting aside 90 minutes in your diary, uninterrupted, to do work on what needs to move the business forward is like, it's about protecting it. 90 minutes is a good length, but there are lots of reasons why 90 minutes is a good length. But if it's 60 minutes, 75 minutes, you start half an hour every day. If you do want to set aside, a longer time, but once a week, but every week, just knowing actually you're doing stuff to move the business forward. Because when you come out of that 90 minutes or about your protected time, whatever the business throws at you, it can throw at you, but you've done what you need to do to move the business forward. In that 90 minutes, you're not dealing with customers, with suppliers, and so on and so forth. You're working on strategy, marketing, things that will drive the business forward. And like I say, we'll touch on this later, actually, with some things about diaries. But I know for Nigel, he does his first thing in the morning. He gets in early, suits him. But the idea is he's done his 90 minutes to move the business forward before anyone can bother him. So whatever else crops up during the day, he knows he's done this. Okay. Now, for all of us, one of the problems, of course, is that our time leaks. So where does it leak? Well, common things where our time leaks are interruptions. You're doing something and someone comes to ask you a question, approving stuff for the team that perhaps could have been approved by somebody else, firefighting, emails, meetings, quick questions, reworking stuff, and that deadly phrase of, I'll just do it myself. Because that phrase feels efficient in the moment, but if it becomes your default, your training the business depends on you. And it has been, proven by many scientific tests, and I know, and people come with slightly different numbers, but fundamentally, if you're working on something and you're proper in that kind of flow state where you're working and really into it, an interruption, it takes you 20 minutes to get back to where you were. They did a test, it's in the US military. um, and it was doctors, and clearly it was pretend operations they were doing. It was training, but they actually just rang the mobile phone, and of course none of them answered it. But just that little thing, in like in the 10 minutes after that interruption, there was a 50% increase in mistakes people made because they've been interrupted. So interruptions do just absolutely suck your time. So in terms of where your time leaks, one of the things we look at as like an activity is look at your normal week and what pulls you away from the work that you plan to do, and just writing down what are the things that have interrupted you, or things that keep reappearing that actually does it really kind of need you. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least I have that little kind of thought of what is it? What are the things that are pulling me away from what I might do? It might be, you know, messing on the internet, on social media, or whatever it might be, client calls, you know, chasing stuff. Anything that comes back again and again and again. And I did this. I had a business coach a number of years ago, and he made me properly track this in 15-minute blocks for 2 weeks before I went to a meeting with him, to see where you kind of realise, actually, I've messed around doing that for a while, or just so we could, generally track it. But as a start, then just have a think. Look about last week. What are the things that kind of got in your way? Because then it's about your £10 an hour trap. So what are the tasks you were doing that you could pay someone? £10 doesn't quite work now, minimum wage perhaps, but you could pay someone a small amount of money to do, that you're doing rather than doing the £1,000 an hour work that will drive your business forward. And we're all guilty of these things that need to be done, but they don't necessarily need you to do it. And it could be admin, it could be scheduling meetings, quick queries, your bookkeeping. Think at home, it could be cleaning, it could be gardening, it could be ironing, and some of these things might be gardening, but obviously for many people that's a hobby, and so therefore good. But ultimately, if it's something you hate doing and someone can do it for cheaper, it's about thinking actually by freeing up that hour of your time, you can do something that can create income for the business far in excess of the £10. If you look at this webinar would be an example. Now, with these events, I write them. So I come up with the ideas. I effectively, what we do now is it's me. I've pulled this all together. But once I have mapped it all out, I'll do a number of bullet points. But then a couple of members of the team then create slides. I did not create these slides. I do not create the Zoom meeting that you're on now. I do not do the social media posts. I do not do the emails we send out to invite people to it. I did this on YouTube afterwards. All of that is done by someone else. I do the bit that needs me, which is actually writing the kind of the content and delivering it, but everything else is done by somebody else. And if you kind of think like that, there are bits that need you, but a lot of stuff does not. We then look at, and again, if you've done your time leak audit, the stop doing list. I mean, many of us have, I certainly have a to-do list, but it's sometimes used to having a stop doing list. What could go on there? The things that in reality, your calendar's full, adding more tasks is not the answer to get more done. It's actually taking stuff off and looking down the things that are in your calendar, or the things you've done, actually you should stop doing. As long as writing and putting them on a list actually helps you kind of therefore stop doing them, because you've flagged it and now. And then we'll come back to this later. Also actually on the next page about what you then do with those tasks. I mean, one of the things might be just meetings for the sake of meetings. We all have meetings that we have that, did you really need that? Was any purpose to it? Or do you just get in the habit of having a meeting? It could have been actually sorted in a quick email, or, a quick call. Once you've done that, it's then looking at what you do with these, and to an extent, having 4 categories. So, the question to ask is, does it matter? Can someone else do it? Can software do it? And does it need you? And basically what we're heading to there is basically, could you stop it totally? Does it actually need to be done at all? There are some things, and like so, I'll use some meetings that might be in your diary, have always been in your diary, but in reality, does it actually need a meeting? Is that just now a habit that is creating no value? Can you delegate it? Is there someone else in your team can do it? or if not in your team, virtual assistant or somebody. There are many people who you can pay by the hour a small amount to take these tasks off you. The software bits, can you automate it? Can you get, whether it's kind of Zapier or whatever in the software you may already have to actually do it for you, or can you yeah, or can you kind of schedule it as well? Is the other one, I guess, it has to be done now. And now look, it's my emails as well. A good example of that. How I deal with my emails is that, many years ago, someone told me to broadly have 3 or 4 kind of boxes. I have the 4. So when I go into my emails, if it's a quick one, I will do it. As in, if you just reply, yeah, great. It's the answer is this. Great, do it. Or can I delegate it? Get someone else to do it. And sometimes even the quick ones I might delegate, because then it's actually getting the person who sent me the email into the habit of actually, I'm not the one to ask, you'll get a quicker answer elsewhere. But certainly either I do it because it's quick, delegate it, delay it. And by delay, I mean, if it is a bigger thing that's going to take a bit of time, is actually effectively say, okay, thanks for that. That is a bigger task. I'll look at it on Wednesday, if we have time every Wednesday afternoon, to where I kind of put the bigger things that come out of the emails. Of course, delete it is the other one, because again, we all get a lot of emails that can just be deleted. Okay, then come on to something which is decision rules. And one of the best ways to kind of reduce dependency on you and therefore save your time is have decision rules. If the same question or issue keeps coming back to you, it's kind of a clue that you don't need another conversation with someone. You need kind of a rule of how to look after it. Rules help the team move faster as well. Stop you being the bottleneck, the traffic light, or what have you, for the entire business. If I use the traffic light as an example, because I had a coach many years ago when I was on the partner track at one of the big accountancy firms who kind of said, for my own decisions, is use a little traffic light system, because I'm the worst. If I'm getting a train somewhere, spending 8, would I rather be on the 10 o'clock or the 1:30, and then you get to book in the seat and think, I prefer that or what that, in reality, you've got to have a little traffic light. The green is just do it. What harm is done, really, of whether you pick that seat or that seat? And amber does need a little thought, or red, actually, okay, that's a big decision. But there's so many decisions that and I'm totally guilty of spending a long time debating, that really are just have no huge consequence whether I've chosen that seat or that seat on the train. What's it matter? So there's that bit, and I do actually myself have a lot of rules. Somebody used to work with said she she said, I've never known anyone have so many rules, and it's as many, for myself, because she's a laugh. I mean, one of the simple ones is we go into a building, we go to lots of meetings out about together, and she if we're going to the first, second, or third floor, I will take the stairs. The fourth and up, I'll get a lift. And it's just simple. Type of thing. She knew she'd laugh, because she'd know as in what floor, she know whether walking stairs or lift, because she knew as well. But but at least it's kind of actually taken, because decisions sap your energy as well, and they do kind of think you can only make so many decisions in a day, which is why people like Steve Jobs and your Mark Zuckerberg wear the same clothes every day, broadly the same, because it's that I think about it, it's taken one less decision off them. But so having rules are good. And of course, it also then means for the team, having rules makes it easier to delegate. And again, I'll use somebody who's a PA for me many years ago said to my wife at a Christmas party that I was the pickiest person ever, and had, again, about my little kind of rules. But she said also I was 100% consistent, which made me very easy to work for. Because yes, I was picky. Yes, I had rules, but actually consistency. So she knew exactly where she stood at all times. I'm sure some of the current team disagree with that, but that's kind of the idea. And it's that thing of actually, if you give the team rules that you can apply a discount up to a certain percentage without having to ask. You've agreed up front. Actually, if they're negotiating or something, they can do that. They can make purchases up to a certain value. Whether it's whatever, stationery, etc., or the many things you purchase all the time. Do you really care what type of paper it is, as long as it's fits in the printer and there's kind of a value on it? Client queries and the likes. So just, and these just make it easier for to take stuff off you and save your time, but also the team not to second guess and think, oh no, would that be all right? Will that be all right? Well, if you've got rules, they kind of know. It's the idea of that. Okay. The next thing is I'll look at my Planning your week. Now, I have this is effectively my school timetable, and Meg's picked a week later in the year, and all of my weeks broadly look the same until the meetings drop in. She's There are actually no gaps in my diary. There's some gaps on here because she has actually removed things which might have names on and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, I know at 9 o'clock every day we have a short meeting. It's actually quarter of an hour. It's just been stretched on this kind of picture, and we'll have a quick catch up with the team. 10 o'clock every Monday morning, I have my weekly planning with my team about the work to be done that week. 2 p.m. every Monday afternoon, we've got our prospects and KPI meetings, and kind of so on and so forth. It means there's kind of a rhythm, like a school timetable, basically, so I know what I'm doing at any given time. I've got a few things in there which you'll see that the greens, I'm available for meetings. I don't do meetings on a Monday because I'm going to get my stuff done. I don't do meetings on a Friday either. I mean, to be honest, the office is closed. I do a few things on a Friday generally, but I don't do meetings. As with everything, I can be flexible if someone really, really needs me. But the starting point is this is what my week looks like. So I know my meetings are Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, and kind of Thursday morning and afternoon. And then I know when I can get my stuff done. There's a little anomaly over on the right. The no meetings there is actually that's to stop Calendly accidentally booking anything. I also group the meetings so that I kind of know, okay, Thursday, I'll do a bunch of meetings with me lunch in the middle, but I know after 2:30, I'm kind of free to do my own stuff. I have drop-ins. There's some yellow drop-ins there. And what that is, the idea is that the team have got stuff they want to go through with me. They kind of group it up. So rather than keep on interrupting, they group them up, and between 12 and 12:30 every day, there is actually one at the end of the day as well, which has kind of dropped off when it's been kind of copied through into here, when they just come and to an extent can bother me as much as they want, but it stops the interruptions during the day. I also have at the end of the day is when I do my emails, it's like a 30-minute slot to look at my emails. The idea of don't look at them during the day, group them, and then on a Wednesday afternoon, there's an emails and quick queries. As I said earlier, where I kind of, if there's something that's going to take a bit of time, I'll delay it and deal with it on a Wednesday. And as you can see, it's color coded as well. Red can't be moved. So, and this is part of decision rules for the team again. Red are there, they can't be moved. And no one can book a meeting then or do anything with it. And generally, they're either meetings with real people. So as my meetings get up with clients, they go in and they are red. Or there are things like my marketing 90 minutes in there as red every day. I generally do mine in the afternoon. It suits me. And again, on the picture here, it's dropped off on Tuesday. There's one on Tuesday afternoon as well. But basically, nobody can book anything across a red. Amber means that, if I'll go green, anyone can book a meeting. So if, someone rings up and they're chatting about, can you meet? Yeah, great. You can book a meeting in any of the greens. And I cannot argue because it's green. Amber is, I've got something I'm doing, like my lunch is amber. But it can be moved if you ask me. You can't move it or book something without asking me because I do actually need to have a lunch, or I do, want to be on the morning meeting each morning, our little quarter of an hour catch up. But fundamentally, if actually to give flexibility to a client to a meeting, it can potentially be moved, and that's in the yellow of the drop-ins. And again, it's nice and visual, but also it means that the team know, if you book something across the red, why? I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. I've actually already got something. A green, I cannot say no. It's there. I then also use Calendly, and there are other very similar tools. Microsoft Bookings, HubSpot has it, Google, and so on and so forth. Calendly is simply a calendar, a meeting booking tool where, and if I go back up to this one, people can click through. If someone wants to book a meeting, we send them a Calendly link to book, and it could be a 15-minute, a 30-minute meeting, a 60-minute meeting, a prospect meeting, and we have different types of meetings, but we'll send them a specific link for what they need, and effectively it shows when I'm available to book a meeting. And Calendly can be given lots of rules. So Calendly knows it can book across those slots that say available for meetings. It can book into gaps, but it can't book obviously it can't book a meeting if there's something already in there. But we can tell it you can book over the available for meetings because I'm available for meetings, and that's just a way. Again, firstly, it stops stops toing and throwing. Can you do 9 a.m. on Monday? No, I can't. Can you do 10 p.m. on 10 a.m. on Tuesday? No, I can't. Here's the link. Click away, pick a time, and it sets it up. And I said a number of tools like Calendly, we use Calendly, but the underlying thing is A, it saves time of going to and fro, booking a meeting, but B, again, it protects. It can only book at the times I have told it. It can book, and like I say, different types of meetings might be able to go over different things. And I'll use as an example prospect meetings. If a prospect wants to meet about being a client, Calendly can book across my marketing 90 minutes, because my marketing 90 minutes is about getting and keeping customers, and therefore actually doing a meeting with somebody who wants to become a customer. It can book there, and kind of so on and so forth. Okay, so email. I mean, I've touched on email, but clearly for many of us, we're very busy all day. What have you done? I've answered emails. Email shouldn't run the day. So yes, where possible, you set email slots. I'm going to look at my emails, once a day at the end of the day, 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock, whatever kind of works. And you will know how frequent or urgently you do need to respond to some people, but generally you do not need to be in your email every day. You might, be in a meeting or whatever anyway. Email is not something you need to drop everything to answer. And one of the biggest kind of suckers of time is that effectively living in your emails. So I have slots at the end of the day, but you can decide how you do it. But for me, if you can have your email closed and drop in and just do them in one go, like with many things, actually packaging them and doing it in one go is better than doing it bit by bit. If you can delegate it or triage it, I've Outlook rules that put some of my stuff and take them out of the inbox, and that might be newsletters and what have you. If you can delegate it, I've got Meg looks after me, and makes my life so much easier. But yeah, she does actually sort my emails for me, which means that she actually pulls them into obviously a lot of things she can actually just answer, or if someone's a meeting with me, she can book the meeting / send the Calendly link. So lots of it's happening without me having to look at it. But then she has a few folders that she pulls stuff into that she hasn't dealt with. So if she deals with it, she files in, say, the client's folder or as appropriate. But then she has an action folder, things that need me. It'd be funny how few actually, when you get into this, how few actually do really need you. I have an FYI folder, things that I should probably be aware of, but there's nothing for me to do. And then have a couple of folders, basically kind of news, new work news as such, newsletters I've subscribed to for work, and also one, personal newsletters you get, about the football or whatever it might be. But it just makes, it frees up a lot of my kind of brain space of not to think about it, and knowing they want to go at the end of the day, because she also sends a little summary at the end of the day and says, I was 6 things in your action folder. But she flags it as anything that is actually an urgent action, rather than, it's something you need to do, but it can be later this week. If it's actually urgent, and I'm not a paramedic, I'm an accountant, but if it's urgent, she flags that. But the point is, it stops email being my boss, and it means she also replies to say, thanks, I've flagged this for John. He's not in the office today, I'll get back to you, on Wednesday, whatever it might be. But it just stops email running in my day. Interruptions. As I said, interruptions are one of the biggest things that suck your time. I mean, Nigel at the Entrepreneur Circle has a sign that he puts on his door saying, don't come in unless the building's burning down or something, when he doesn't want interrupting. And I think he says, one disciplinary proof to everyone he really meant it. I'm simpler in that I do just shut the door. The setup of the offices, the team can all see whether my door's open or closed. If it's open, you can interrupt me. If it's closed, don't. But it just stops that kind of interruption. It's not me being awkward. I'm happy to help. It's basically, I've got to get something done now. The door's closed. Meetings and calls, like I said, it's the same with phone calls. Is as a general, I don't take phone calls out of the blue, because I'm doing stuff. And again, that's not me being awkward. Often one of the team, so Gareth answers the phone, often he can actually answer the thing anyway. If someone's a meeting, you can get booked in. But actually, people interrupting me with calls stops me doing what I'm doing. And the example would be, if I'm actually concentrating now doing your accounts, do you want me interrupted when I'm and make a mistake. So, I kind of, use that. But everyone kind of gets this. And what we find as well is we book in, and if someone rings, we just book a time, we're going to call them back, 15-minute slot. And actually, they'll get a better answer anyway, because I'm prepped for it as well. Because I can actually have often they might say, "Oh, actually, I wanted to ring about this." I can have a look into it before I ring you back and give a better answer. And as you can imagine, I often do, ring back, I say unexpectedly, not, but it might be I'm in something and they book me in for a call, tomorrow afternoon or something. If I'm free this afternoon, I'll ring back. I'm not certainly not being not making a point of it, but it's just that thing of actually you'll get a better answer because I'm ready, but it stops me being interrupted all the time with things. So fundamentally it'll get booked into one of the meeting spots is what happens if someone rings up. And my kind of 15 and 30-minute meeting slots have next day notice on them. Bigger meetings have a few days notice in Calendly. And that is partly to help me plan my day and my week. Because what it means for me is that on a Friday afternoon, I know the big meetings I've got for the next week, because you can't book a big meeting with me, like more than a 15 or 30-minute phone call, less than a week in advance. And again, there's some flexibility if it's generally urgent, but most things, that everyone themselves their own diary. So on a Friday, I can look at what my diary looks like next week, and I can plan what I'm going to get done, knowing what my weeks looks like. The callbacks, the quick 15-minute, 30-minute calls, they're at least the next working day. So at the end of each day, I have got a little bit, you can see it's slipped on the thing to kind of 6 o'clock plan. I can plan the next day. You can actually see on a Friday, there's a bigger planning thing because I plan the next week of what I'm going to get done. At the end of each day, I plan the next day of what, to say the 3 things I'm going to get done by the end of the next day. Because at the end of Monday, I know exactly what this day looks like in terms of if there are any meetings or calls. So that just kind of helps get things helps plan, because time it all links back to profit ultimately. If you spend your time in the correct places, you'll push the business forward and you'll create more time for yourself, but more profit in the business. If you're no longer the bottleneck, things get done quicker, and in reality, customer client service improves because the team are just getting back to it straight away rather than waiting for you. And that means delivery improves, mistakes reduce, and ultimately you're delivering a better customer service, and therefore your profits will kind of go up. We also look at it as well. One of the things we monitor is for a lot of clients is revenue per employee, which is basically your sales divided the number of employees. And the more you've done some of these things we've talked about, it's letting you push stuff forward to bring more sales in, while also actually the team are working more efficiently because they've got these decision things. They're not going to wait for approval for you. They're getting stuff done. They know the parameters they can make decisions in, and because there's a rule, it's a black and white, not sit and think and, oh God, what do you think John will think about that? They know, so crack on. And I think it's that thing, that profit is, if you've got clarity on where you want to be and where you are going, your goals for the day, the week, the month, the year. And like I say, I've got my little planning things at the end of every week as an hour, end of every day, 15 minutes. But clarity on what I need to achieve tomorrow and a focus on it. It does actually create profit, but more time as well. Okay, and we link this in. We look at a lot of with our clients. We run a business diagnostic review, profit diagnostic review, where we look at 7 key numbers, and 3 of those numbers particularly. One is revenue per employee, but also gross profit percentage, and ultimately operating profit, are all tied into how you use your time. Gross profit is often, if you're using your time badly, you're spending more time to deliver stuff and so on and so forth, or even if you're delivering a service, the scope creeps and you're doing more work than you should for the fee. And those 3 are very closely linked to how you're managing your time. Okay. So kind of pulling some of the activities together and ways to therefore, talk through some things. But I'm going to come back to the 90 minutes, because the 90 minutes, like I say, is just really, really important, of having this dedicated time to work on your business. So in terms of activities out of today, like I say, earlier we talked about the time leak audit, but actually putting a 90 minutes in your diary or equivalent is kind of really important. And like I say, it's not spare time. It's not, if the week goes well, I'll get round to this time. It's the most important meeting in your business. It's a meeting with you, but it's a meeting where you work on the things that create the future for the business. Really, and step one is pick the time of the day when you're at the best. Like I said, to go back to Nigel at the Entrepreneur Circle, and I've spent all day with him yesterday, actually. Kind of a meeting down there with him. He does his first thing because he feels he's an early morning person. He's his most productive first thing. So he will have his best work, his best thoughts, his best strategic thing, his best writing of marketing is done first thing. So when it's freshest, and therefore he gets into the office kind of early and he does it then. That suits him. I've always been a bit of a night owl. Might be partly bad use of time and procrastinate sometimes, but even from doing my homework, because I was done quite late. Start my homework at 11 p.m. type of thing. But that suits me. I do my 90 minutes in the afternoon, as we showed in my diary earlier. I like that. Nigel likes the morning because he's a morning person, and it's done. And whatever happens, he's done his 90 minutes. Partly with me because school run other obligations. I'm already kind of done a bunch of things before I kind of get in, and then ring fencing 90 minutes in the morning sometimes it's just not the right time for me. But also I quite like doing it at the end of the day when almost I know I can almost, I say relax into it. It's not relaxing time, but I know that the other stuff is done, and I know now. Great, I can, because I actually like 90 minutes. So there's kind of that bit, but the key thing is ring fencing in the diary. I do when I plan my week, just going back to that, is sometimes if the prospect's booked across the 90 minutes, or sometimes clearly I've got the times in my diary where, meetings are broadly. Sometimes there's just other stuff crops up that does not fit into my diary because there are other people involved and so on and so forth. On a Friday afternoon, I know that, and I will move my 90 minutes as appropriate. So it'll still happen, but it might be at a different time of the day. But my starting point is mine kind of 3:30ish every day. Okay, then it's where you want to do it, and you need to be somewhere you are productive. For me, I mean this room here, I've got my laptop and two big screens. I've got a similar setup in the study at home. I need the extra screens for me to be productive. I'm no good on just a laptop. I don't like the little keyboard. I feel a bit like I can't do that, and the little screen. Also, I need to, because I'm looking at that screen. I want to take some off there and put it onto there and copy. So it's having the right environment as well, and somewhere where you're not going to get interrupted. I know on both things. I know somebody know very well, like an optician. He goes in now an hour earlier to his opticians. He does 60 minutes every day, but by going an hour early, there's no one else there. No customers are coming in. That's when he works on his business. I know somebody struggled because they have a very busy house. Struggled to find a place where they would not get interrupted. They have a caravan on the driveway. They do it in the caravan because they're not going to, they know they've gone there. People know they're not going to come knocking on and say, "Oh, do you need anything?" Whereas in the house, just with a number of young kids and that. So it's finding a time and a location that you can protect and be at your most productive. So the location, so you're not interrupted, but also so you've got the right, like say for me, having the screens, I need the screens to work generally productively. And then it's planning in advance. It says decide the big rock. The big rocks is that some from Traction is the book. But fundamentally, the idea is if you have a big glass jar and you've got a load of rocks, a load of pebbles, a load of sand, if you put the sand and the pebbles in first, you then can't get the big rock in. Whereas if you put the big rock in, it goes in, and the pebbles or sand will just kind of drop in all around it. So you can actually get more in by doing it in that order. And the idea in your business, the big rock is the key thing you need to get done. The pebbles and the sand are all these little 10-minute tasks and little tasks that can be slotted around it. So deciding what you're doing. And I plan my 90. The idea, you don't go into the start of these sessions thinking, "Oh, what should I do today?" You know in advance what you are doing and how you're using 90 minutes. I plan mine monthly. I've got a little spreadsheet that shows a month and like a slot in each day. But the idea is that I can actually drop in. I start at the top of the thing. It's like June. I'll have this month I will achieve, and there might be one, two, or three things that the biggies. So this month I've rewritten our prospect process. So the process from when someone fills in a form on our website, picks up the phone, emails, whatever it might be, to say, "Oh, hello, I'm looking for an accountant," through to them hopping onto a meeting with me, through to then the follow up. I've rewritten that because a number of things have changed in the business that I want to bring out in there for what people get sent in advance. And that was a big rock for this month. I then look at my 90-minute slots each day and drop them in with kind of expected time. In some 90 minutes, I might get two or three things done because they're little things that are very important and therefore need to be in the 90 minutes so they get done, but don't take 90 minutes. Doing the prospect process took a few 90 minutes, so kind of plans that. And actually, I'd set aside then a whole day on a Friday as well, because I could. But the point is, I do know, and certainly on any given day you want to go in, I know what I'm doing that day. And then it's like, as it says at the bottom, protect it. And like I said, the other activity I'm going to come back to this is putting that time in your diary, then that stop doing list, and then kind of you're looking at what therefore it can go to other places or to other people or places. And again, that stop doing list, it's all about clarity plus focus equals time. And part of that is, focus on the right things by stopping doing the wrong things. Common barriers, yeah. No one can do it as well as me. I'm just better that needs me, or it's quicker if I do it myself. Well, maybe not on day one, but ultimately, there are some things I might do better than anybody else, but they'll do it 95% as well as me. And on day one, it might be obviously the training and hence it's quicker to do it myself. But yeah, if you keep doing it yourself, no one will ever know how to do it, and you're always stuck doing it. So number one is having that mindset of actually somebody can do this, and therefore train them. And it takes a little bit of investment in time up front, but then they can take it off you. And with the no one can do it quite as well as me, well, in reality, they can. And you know what? Even if they can't, if they're 90% as good, but they're doing it and you're doing something else at the same time, that is still better than having, one thing done at 100% is, not as good as having two things getting done at the same time at 90%. So just kind of getting away from that. Similarly, if you deal with customers or clients, but the clients expect me personally, some might, but probably not. They want a good answer and a good service. And if the good service is delivered by a team member, they're happy as Larry. I mean, I've always, and this is true because my role in the firm, obviously, it changes over time. And for many questions that my clients have, they will get a better answer off one of the team than they will from me. Especially over, if you use the software we use, if they want training or a question on Zero, I'm not the right person to ask anyway. If you ask me, I have to ask one of the team to show me how to do it before I answer to you. So, and that's true in so many things. Is yes, at first, especially if you're starting in a service thing and you're the only person, but as the team grows, and if you just explain to people, actually, so and so, and they're as qualified as me, and so on and so forth. People want a good service and good answer. They generally don't actually really, really, really need you. So this is kind of the reframe. Good enough from the team beats perfect from an exhausted business owner. Training might take a bit longer once, but save time every week. And your customers and clients, they value the outcomes, not your personal exhaustion. And we've got as a download, we've got the worksheet. It's a few pages, but it's just something to work through and starting this productivity self-assessment. And I'm not reading through this line by line, but the top one is I start each workday with a clear list of 1 to 3 top priorities. What are your big rocks every day? And I plan those before I go home the night before. So again, I'm not coming in the morning. What should I get done today? Before I go home the night before, I know that my 1, 2, or 3 things tomorrow's a success if I get those done. And actually on a Friday, next week is a success. So that when I finish the week, I know, have I won the week? Did I win? Did I get everything done? So having those is kind of really, really important. And like I say, it's got here blocking out specific time in my calendar, pretty much important task before I do my emails or messages. And the bottom one is I spent at least 90 minutes most days. And like I say, there is a printed off small the worksheet. There are a few kind of tasks on there. The time leak audit's the next one of looking at things. The 90-minute daily win of, again, say just a little thing, and it's as simple as that. On Monday, my 90-minute slot, the big rock will be this and where I'm going to do it. Some decision rules and the stop doing list all on the worksheet. Oh, sorry, no, actually, yeah, I've circled the top one because that top one is back to that clarity and focus. If I've got that clarity of where I'm going and focusing on those three things, so it's going to equals time. Cool. So guess then it's think back, what is your one commitment from today? And hope perhaps a few, but what will you implement from this week to start creating time? It might be putting those 90-minute slots in your diary. It might be doing the time leak audit. It might be saying, I'm going to close my emails for 4 hours a day, the whole day, and so I'm uninterrupted. But thinking about what are those things that you want to do, and again back to that thing, to clarity and focus equals time. And how can we help? Well, we do a number of things to help, and we do talk to a lot of our clients about exactly this and helping with some of this stuff. But also off the back of today, as I said, we run a profit diagnostic review that looks at how business can be improved. And part of that is looking at revenue per employee and ways of being more productive, more efficient, using time better. That meeting actually does go wider than just time, but again, if you'd like to put the meeting, the QR code there, it's on all the slides. I'll go to here now, and there's a URL at the bottom as well, but we'll send this out after the event. But the idea is, yes, we can do the profit diagnostic review, which actually does look at your whole business. But if it's something you're interested in, you actually want to just flag, actually, I do want to talk through time, we can work through and where you're using your time, work through the worksheet together and use the time for that instead. So on that, then I've pretty much hit me 45 minutes. A minute over, but I'm going to allow myself that. That's not the worst use of time, and just look across to Gareth because he controls the screen and everything for any Q&A. Cool. So we've got. I can't pretend. I'd find it hard to protect 90 minutes every day. How do I do that? Or is it realistic? Yeah, and I think it's going back to thinking, I mean, clearly I spend a lot of time around the entrepreneur circle, Nigel, and to put it in context, the entrepreneur circle itself, Nigel's built more than 10, I can't remember the precise number, £1 million businesses. The entrepreneur circle itself is an 8-figure turnover business making a 7-figure profit, which he openly shares at many of their events and kind of talks. And he puts his whole success down to that 90 minutes and religiously doing it every day, unless he's on holiday or, I don't know. They run a convention every year when they're there from like 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. and he says they're like 2 or 3 days he doesn't do it. But fundamentally, he says he'll say quite often, as in, nobody he's ever discussed it with will contradict or debate the fact they consider it hugely productive, but not many people do it. But actually, once you realise the impact of it, we should be able to find 90 minutes and it'd be realistic. And if it is 60 minutes a day, obviously that's not as good as 90, but 60 is still better than nothing. Or if it works for you to have a longer session on a day, and I know there are many reasons to go at 90 is good, and it's a good time because before you don't burn out. But fundamentally, if it works for you, just ring fence time. I do once every quarter. I have a strategy week where I don't have any meetings at all, and I work purely on the business, which is very long, 90 minutes. But I kind of like that, and some of the bigger tasks I might park into that, because rather than 90-minute chunks, I actually quite like, and I've got a day uninterrupted. But that thing of just it's like any habit. Once you get into it, it becomes more doable. And I mean, I'll hold me. I'd be lying if I said I do. I mean, yesterday, funny if I was at the Entrepreneur Circle in a meeting that started at 8 a.m., finished at 6 p.m., and then I had the 100-mile drive home. I didn't do 90 minutes yesterday, but then the whole meeting was about working on my business in a different way, and also about what should I use it for. Well, anything that improves the business rather than simply keeps it going. So, you 100% don't do any client queries, technical work, product stuff. Good examples are marketing. Could be pricing reviews, system improvements, looking at your numbers, ad campaigns you've got going and reviewing what is working and what might work better going forwards. Like if I look at myself in the last one, the big one was looking at our prospect process, which took a number of 90 minutes and then actually spent a chunk of time on a Friday as well. But that was kind of a really good one. We also, I mean, fun if actually, it's a really obvious one, isn't it? Actually, I don't think it's. I wrote this webinar in 90 minutes because fundamentally I spent a few 90 minutes started broadly kind of going around thinking and mapping out what the topics would be for the year, and then I used the 90 minutes to kind of write one, which kind of works quite nicely. I didn't use the 90 minutes to then do the prep because I do actually run through this 2 or 3 times beforehand to make sure it fits to the idea is 45 minutes plus Q&A. That actually, don't use the 90 minutes for that, but the actual writing it, the thinking and all that was done in the 90 minutes. Cool. And yeah, so that's what we'll my customers get annoyed if I'm not always available. Clearly there'll be somebody who does, but fundamentally we all know that actually if I ring to speak to you now, you might actually be on the phone, you might be in a meeting, you might be on holiday. Do you know what I mean? As in, no one is 100% readily available unless your service is to be 100% readily available. So if you are I'm trying to think of an example. You're an IT company and my laptop's broken, I'm ringing. I need somebody to be available, but does it have to be the business owner? Now, if you're the only person in the business and you are providing a service that offers full availability, yes, that is different. But for most of us, we're not paramedics or what have you, or at least we have a team who can answer straight away. And like I say, for me, if you use my emails as an example, a lot of the emails Meg can answer because a lot of people are asking, oh, can you send me a copy of this? Oh, can I book a meeting? Can I do this? Or if someone rings up with a query, an accounting query, generally one of the team who's actually, oh, I need it today, and it's back to the thing. Yesterday, I was in a meeting on Entrepreneur Circle all day. I wasn't here to answer a thing. One of the team can answer the technical query, and that'd be the same in your business too. So that's kind of that's an obvious one. Okay, so I think that's all the questions for the moment. So all I will say then is that our next one, which kind of links to this, is a revenue per employee workshop. So basically, the QR code is exactly the same as on the previous page. So next time, Wednesday, the 15th of July, we are looking, because nicely linked to this, about revenue per employee, about how you make everything more efficient. So thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope to see you next month. Cheers.